Welcome to Next Generation Leadership Academy. It's great to see all your smiling faces here today. And in the last few weeks, we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about the power of believing in yourself, even if others don't see it yet, the power of not taking things personally when people do mean things or say mean things to you, and how to respond to them in love. We talked about owning it and taking 100% responsibility for our lives so we could be in control. We talked about jumping in and taking action and being consistent on the way to our goals. We also talked about where positive thoughts come from and the power of your thoughts that they have on your life. And in the last session, we talked about the power of Riz, or the power of charisma. But today we're going to talk about three of my favorite topics. We're going to talk about the rules of money, the 4 rules of money. We're going to talk about how to speak up when we need to express ourselves instead of bottling it up, because the quality of our relationships dictate the quality of our lives. And for those of you who are single, we're going to talk about dating superpowers and how to identify and find your right soulmate for you, and those that are in a relationship, how to have a healthy, happy relationship. Well, we are in the book Real World Superpowers. Oh, there's my bookmark. We're in the book Real World Superpowers, Success Principles for the Next Generation. And you could get it on Amazon. You could get the hard copy at barnesandnoble.com. You can also get the audiobooks at both of those places. And I put the link into the chat where you can get it at a discount and a bulk discount as well. On this link in the chat, which is also my username right here on Zoom, lizleq.now.site. You can also get the replay of today's session and previous sessions for free right there at lizleq.now.site. But let's dive in. Who wants to know the rules of money and how to have a successful financial future? Because if you don't make a financial plan, guess what? The default is you're going to make a spending plan. Ask me how I know. See, there's a saying that money only makes us more of what we already are. So if we're a nice person, when we have more money, we'll want to be a nicer and more generous person to the community. If we're a mean person, well, then money might make us more of a jerk. So one of the most important things we need to know about money is to work on ourselves first and work on our character. So when we do have money and we've learned these success principles and the rules of money, we will be prepared to do the right things with that money. So if you're ready, say I'm ready. Okay, rule number 1, money rule number 1 is to save 10% of every dollar that you receive. Now, who has heard of this theory before? Save 10% of every dollar you receive. Now, my second question is, are you saving 10% of every dollar that you receive? And those that do are probably thanking themselves, and those that don't are like, how do I start? I have trouble living off of 100% of what I make. How can I possibly learn to live on 90% of what I make? But let me just kind of give a little illustration. See, if you earn $10, I want to encourage you to save $1. You're like, what the heck difference is that going to make? See, when you learn how to save on the small bits of money that you receive, you'll be disciplined to also do it when you earn the big chunks of money. A lot of people say, I'll wait till I earn the big chunks of money and then I'll start saving 10%. The problem is you're in the habit of spending 100%. So trust me, and I can tell you from experience, when you receive, and when I've received big chunks of money when I wasn't in the habit of saving it when I had the small ones, then I was not also in the habit of saving when I got the big ones. And so does anyone know of the lottery stories or people that won the lottery and then years later they were actually more in debt and worse off than before they won the lottery because they got into the habit of spending and then ended up buying all sorts of things and like the green-eyed monster came out and they just started to do those things. So we need to develop the habit early, so when more comes in, we can have that muscle, okay, that we have flex. So if you earn 1,000, you're going to save 100. Now, if you learn to save when you're earning small amounts, you'll be disciplined. Now, we talked about that. Some employers, if you're working at a job that sends you a paycheck, they have the ability to take a percentage of your paycheck and put it straight into your savings. So you don't even see it, which is nice. It goes straight in there. You have to transfer it if you wanted to use it. So it makes it more of a savings habit. So ask your employer if they could do that. There's even some banking apps that help you save. With some of them, like with purchases, they'll say, if you want to round up to the nearest dollar, the change will automatically be transferred to your savings or investment account. So it's a great way to save without even having to think about it. But why save money? I'll never forget, I had a single mom one time ask me, well, Liz, why would I need to save money? And I was shocked that she would ask me that question. But if people must also be thinking the same thing. See, if you're in the habit of saving money, you'll have money for the things that you really want, like renting your own apartment, being able to move out, or buying that engagement ring. You'll have money for things that you need in an emergency, like a flat tire, or your dog needs to go to the vet, and you have the money to save their life. See, if you don't save money, your savings account will look just like the homeless person on the street. Also, if you don't save money, you won't get to play at level 2. So let's talk about level 2. Rule number 2, when it comes to the rules of money, is to invest. So earlier, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the slight edge of saving $10 every day for 10 years. So if you save $10 a day at the end of the year, you have $3,650. And after 10 years, you have $36,500. That's enough money to put down on your first house or a rental property. But it started with that $10 a day, which we thought wouldn't make a difference. What's $10 a day? That's your Starbucks a day. That's now your McDonald's drive-through. Because things are getting more expensive. But if you invested that same $10 a day, it would actually grow with compound interest, let's just say of 10% a year. And instead of saving $36,500 at the end of 10 years, because you invested it at 10%, guess how much you would have? You would actually have $94,676. You only put in $36,500, but because you invested it, it tripled. That's free money. That's enough to buy 2 homes, one to own and one to rent out for passive income. So my mentor, the late Texan billionaire Paul J. Meyer, said, you got to learn how to put overalls on your money. Right, Russell? We went to his beautiful ranch in Waco, Texas, and this gentleman has done so well being disciplined with his money that he spent the last 20 years of his life with a full-time staff trying to give away his money. He sent every Waco high schooler in Texas to college, full scholarship that he paid for, as long as they didn't do drugs or didn't get pregnant before they graduated school. So imagine the things that you can do with more money. A lot of people say, Liz, I'm really struggling because maybe, I'm religious and it's not about the money. But let me tell you, God forbid I leave this earth and have only lived for myself. I mean, we need to be on this earth to make a positive contribution to the world and to the people around us. And when we have the money and we learn how to grow and multiply that, we could be a huge blessing to thousands of people, to millions of people. So, it wasn't until my family started saving and investing that we were actually able to purchase our home. We live in Southern California. It's extremely expensive here. We had given up all hope of being able to afford a single family home because the 3-bedroom condo down the street is selling for $950,000. but because we saved and we invested and we we learned how to control our spending. So we really learned to live on 90% of our income. And but back in the day when I was in my 20s, I didn't know this. No one taught me this kind of financial education stuff. I learned it being a part of the Legal Shield community. However, before that, I was spending 110% because I was getting into credit card debt. And so anyway, because of that, I was started saving and started investing and being disciplined. And we were able to not only buy a single family home, but buy our dream home in Southern California. I had always walked into new construction homes year after year after year, always saying, oh, it would be so nice. But is it ever going to happen? Like just kind of hopeful, but hopeless at the same time. And but it's been a dream. We were able to purchase a new construction home, pick out the flooring and the backsplashes in every room. It's 6 bedrooms, it's 3,500 square feet. Each kid has their own room. I have my own office. Dave has his own office because he talks really loud on the phone. So, I love you, honey. But, we would shout over each other. I guess I'm loud too. And so, hey, what do you invest in? I'm not a financial planner. You could talk to the financial people and start reading the financial books. They say formal education will make you a living, but a self-education will make you a fortune. So start reading financial books, start listening to those financial audios. There's many different ways of investing. My uncle put $10,000 into Tesla stock years ago when his granddaughter was born. And guess what? By her 10th birthday, it had grown to $200,000. So her college is paid for. That's called investing. Now, I don't know if that's the right stock to be investing in today because that was years ago. Things change, times change. But, what's another way to invest? My husband's best friend invested in real estate, and he now owns 50 properties that pay a large monthly income. I invested in starting my own home-based business with Legal Shield, and the return has been millions of dollars in passive income. So, Warren Buffett, who's one of the wealthiest men in America, he recommends at least investing in the S&P 500, which is often both advised for beginner and advanced investors because it's had a strong return year after year. Now, of course, right now the market is not doing very well, but sometimes that's the time to get in. Anyway, I'm not a financial planner. My disclaimer is, I'm not giving you financial advice right now, but I am telling you about the rules of money. So find a way to grow your money as well. So you're saving 10%, you're investing 10%. Make a financial plan to invest your money because otherwise, when you have money coming in, you'll make that spending plan. Okay, let's talk about money rule number 3. And please hear me on this one. This one is near and dear to my heart. And that is just don't debt. Just don't debt. Just stop the bleeding. Just don't do it anymore. I may have told you in the previous sessions that when I was in college, I made the mistake of getting into credit card debt. Everywhere I turned, they were offering free credit cards. You get a free t-shirt if you sign up for a credit card today. When I'd fly in the airplane, they'd offer free, airline miles if you sign up for the credit card day. I go to Macy's, TJ Maxx, Old Navy every time I check out. Would you like to open up an account today and save an extra 10 to 15% on your order today? And it sounded like a good idea at the time, saving an extra 10% using this new credit instead of using the cash that I had in my pocket right now or on my debit card. But here's the thing, if you don't have the discipline to pay that off within 30 days, and now like who checks the mail anymore? And sometimes the bill comes via email and we miss it because we have 400 emails a day coming in, or it gets lost in the junk mail. And then like 30 days goes by and now you incur an interest penalty on that credit card bill. Ask me how I know. And so I was like, okay, it sounded like a good idea. Let's do it. But then the bills would add up And that second month, if you didn't pay within 30 days, it's 25% of your purchase amount, which was more than the 10% I was going to save on opening that account. See, interest on a credit card is like a secret killer. Just like investing your money will compound over time, your debt will compound over time too. And so I had gone to college with a lot of girls who came from wealthy families, whose daddies were doctors and lawyers, who paid off their credit card bills when we would go out shopping and going out to eat at dinner. But I came from a middle class, hardworking family, and I didn't have a job at the time, and I was out there spending money. And then all of a sudden, when I graduated school, I had $40,000 in credit card debt. It was a painful time, and it took me time to dig myself out of that hole. So please, this is my battle cry to you. Don't start if you haven't started. And if you're already in it, just stop the bleeding. Just don't debt. You don't need the debt anymore. You don't need it. You can find a way to make the money. You go out and make extra money to pay for what you need. Go out and find a way to pay it with the money that you have right now. It is not worth it. Please, okay? I want to save you all the heartache that I had to go through. Fortunately, because I started that home-based business with Legal Shield, it was extra income on the side. I was able to pay off all of the debt, but it took discipline and it took time and it took years. So I just want to share with you from my heart, money rule number 3, just don't debt. Now, money rule number 4 is to tithe. That means to give. Tithing is when you set aside a portion of your money, and usually the first 10% you give is to your church or your charity. It's a way of honoring God and trusting Him to provide for your needs. It's also about being grateful for what you have and to be able to help others. Giving helps your community and it helps you to have more gratitude. So giving money also helps you be more prosperous by sharing what you have. You open up space in your life for more blessings to flow in. I truly believe that what you give to the world is what you get. If you give to the world love, you will receive back to the world love. If you give to the world negative things, you will receive back to the world negative things. And so if you give money, you can expect back from the world money. You got to keep the flow going. Okay, so tithing is really also about developing the character of kindness, generosity, and creating a positive cycle. You know, when you give, you're not just helping others, but you're also growing personally here. You're building good habits, and it's often finding that life gives back to you in unexpected ways. So that is the section on the rules of money. So let's talk about speaking up when we want to express our emotions. You know, my daughter came to me the other day because her and her best friend got into a little bit of a fight. She didn't want to say anything, but she needed to say something, you know, and she just wasn't sure how to communicate it. So I kind of shared with her this method that I've been using all these years. And Dave and I actually use this method a lot. We have never had a fight before. I know that's hard to believe, but we've been married for 16 years and we don't fight because as soon as one person offends the other, we say something. We speak up. We don't hold it in. We don't bottle it in. And it's actually very healthy for us. So anytime I'm being disrespectful or if he says something unloving, we'll call each other out. And to the point where our kids now do the same thing. So like if we're a family of 5, and so if someone in the family says something offensive or just says something, someone will usually call somebody out and then the person apologizes and then we just move on being happy, you know. And so speaking up and learning how to speak up is so important to keep the relationships strong. And in leadership as well, it's important to express any frustrations that you might be having, or maybe you need to give constructive criticism to somebody, but you're afraid because you don't want to stifle their excitement or something like that. So here is a little tool that I've used, or kind of an acronym that has helped me. Again, we're in the book Real World Superpowers, Success Principles for the Next Generation. But it's called SIG, S-I-G. S-I-G. S stands for state the facts. So let's just say that, you know, in my husband's situation, we did this the other day. I just noticed that there was a lot of socks laying around the house all over in every room. And so instead of saying, you're a slob and you're leaving your socks everywhere all over the house, I was able to use SIG. So S stands for state the facts. So I said, hey, honey, um, I noticed that there have been socks, in the living room. There's socks laying around in the dining room. There's socks here and there. The shoes are kind of everywhere, and I'm tripping over them. Honestly, I was tripping over them, and the mess is kind of starting to stress me out. So, what did I do next? I use an I statement. Instead of saying you're messy and you need to learn how to clean up your mess and you're the problem. No, I'm sharing how I'm feeling. So I say, I'm starting to feel a little stressed out because the house is getting a little messy and I'm tripping over the shoes. And so I'm expressing how I'm feeling. And then you just close it up with a G. Give directions. Don't tell somebody that they did something wrong, or don't tell somebody that they made a mess and leave them in the mess. Help them out of the situation. So G, give directions. So what I said was, in the future, is there any way that when you want to take your socks off, you stick them right into the hamper, or you put them right into the washing machine, and so we don't have this problem? And so, of course, he said, yes, sure, honey, no problem. So that's just one example. Another example in business, let's just say you're working on a project and you're in school and you're in a group project and one of your teammates hasn't been contributing much and it's kind of weighing on the group. So, S, you want to state the facts. You want to say, hey, I've noticed that you haven't been able to attend our last 2 group meetings and haven't submitted your part of the project yet. So you're just stating the facts. Okay, don't be vague. You've got to be very clear about what it is that you're noticing and that you're observing. Okay, I noticed or I observed that, or the other day, this is what happened, or the other day, you said this to so and so. Okay, so you're going to be very specific. But then I use an I statement. You could say, well, I feel really stressed because we're running out of time and we need everyone's input to complete the project. And then G, give directions. Could you please let us know if there's a reason you're unable to contribute? If you need help, we can totally figure out a way to support you. Otherwise, it would be great if you could work on your part of the project and share it with us tomorrow. That's an example. I had an example. I had an associate that was calling me like probably 12 times a day, to the point where like I couldn't eat, I couldn't take a shower, and it was interrupting my meetings and my phone and the time with the kids. And so I had to just share with him, and I tried to say like, I tried to text him like, hey, I'm in a meeting, is there any way you can text? And he would just get really upset if I didn't reply to him or respond to him within 5 to 10 minutes of him calling, and he would like call. So I had to say to him, hey, I noticed that you like to call and give me every play by play, and I know you're so excited, right? So I didn't want to stifle his excitement, but I had to communicate. I noticed that you're calling each time, and then I want to use an I statement. So I said, I am feeling bad that I can't get to you all the time because I have appointments that are, we're pre-scheduled, and I'm trying to spend time with the kids, and I'm trying to help them do their homework. And, I'm needing to kind of do what I'm kind of live my life. But then I gave directions. I said, is there any way that if I don't answer, that you'll know that I'm in a meeting, that it's for a good reason why I can't answer the phone. And if I don't get back to you within 30 minutes or so, can you text me if I don't answer and let me know what's going on? Because I might be able to respond faster if I'm stuck in a meeting, to if you have a question. And if you don't hear back from me right away, that you can expect to hear back from me within, 6 to 8 hours, 6 to 8 business hours. Is that okay? And so we were able to talk about the situation. He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize," he's like, "I'm just excited." And I'm like, "I know you are. I know you're so excited, and I want you to be excited. But I also want to be able to support you without feeling like I'm disappointing you. Is that okay?" Yes. So it's important to communicate and learn how to speak up when you're upset about something. There's no use in bottling it up and holding on to resentments. Because when you hold on to resentments, you're holding on to the past. When you hold on to the past, we cannot move forward. So we want to learn how to speak up and express our emotions. You also want to learn how to say things nicely. I was at the shoe store the other day, and there was a mom that was in there with her son, and they were searching for shoes. Finally, they found shoes. They brought them up to the counter, and she goes, "Oh, do you guys have a bathroom? Because my son needs to go." And they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the restrooms are just for employees. The closest restroom is at Target or Old Navy," which was like all across the parking lot. And I was feeling bad for the lady, and it's her son, and I'm a mom too, and I get it. But then before she kind of cut off the cashier, because the cashier is like, "Well, if the restroom is just for employees, but," and then the lady just immediately like slammed down the shoes. She's like, "Forget about it. We're leaving. We're not buying shoes here. Come on, Johnny, let's go." And she stormed out of there. And then when she left, the employee goes, "Man, she didn't have to be so mean. I was literally about to say, we don't normally we're not allowed to do it, but because the boss isn't here, I'll let you quickly go." And so, sometimes we just need to learn how to say things nicely, because I can imagine if she had asked nicely or was calm about it and didn't explode, that she may have possibly have gotten what she was looking for. I happened to be flying to Hawaii a couple of years ago on a business trip. And when you fly to Hawaii, you go back in time. And so I arrived at 9 a.m. in the morning, and at 2 o'clock, I had an appointment for to meet a client. And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to get there. I'm going to take a little nap. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to get all freshened up," because I had been like flying for, a long time. And when I got there, it was too early to check in. Like check in wasn't until like later in the afternoon. And I was like, "Oh, shoot, I completely forgot." And the person in front of me also had the same situation, and they were yelling at this poor girl. They were yelling at the front desk girl. They were just like, "Yeah, you don't know who I am," kind of a thing. It was a really nice resort. And then so when it was my turn to get up there, I was like, "You're doing so amazing. Has anyone told you how incredible you are? I see how hard you're working. I see all the stuff that you're having to manage, and the difficult people. If someone hasn't told you yet today how wonderful of a job you're doing, I just want to tell you that we appreciate you." And she's like, "Thank you so much." And I'm like, so give her my ID, I give her my card. I'm like, and she goes, "Well, check-in isn't until after 4 o'clock today." I'm like, I completely forgot about that rule. Is there any way? I have a business meeting I'm supposed to be at 2 o'clock. I've been flying all day. I'm feeling kind of stinky. I'm wanting to freshen up. And I don't know if there's any possible way that you might have a way for me to kind of get cleaned up before my meeting." And she goes, "Hold on, let me think about that." So she starts typing away. She's looking. She goes away. She comes back and she goes, "You know what?" She says, "I happen to have an oceanfront suite that is 4 levels above what you pay for, but it's not booked for the next few days. And so why don't you just have it? Let me just check you in, and you can have this room at no additional cost." I'm like, wow, really? Thank you. And let me tell you, oceanfront suite it was, okay? It was like the view, the living room, the second bathroom in the living room of this suite. It was nice. You know, you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. And so learning how to speak up and learning how to say things nicely and kind of also learning how to be the bigger person when we're presented with challenges, it will help you get things in life. Now, let's go to the last topic. And this is called dating superpowers. So first I'm going to talk to my single friends here on the line, and then I'll talk to those in a relationship. But when I first started dating into the real world, I was doing it all wrong. And I did not have this dating superpower. I was messing it up. I was attracting the wrong guys, and the relationships weren't lasting very long. I was like, what is wrong with me? I don't understand. And I would always be totally brokenhearted. And so when I started using this dating superpower, I was unstoppable. I was like, wow, I really felt like I could identify whether the guy was the right one for me or not. And that dating superpower is to wait until marriage to go all the way. Now I know that that sounds lame, but let me tell you why it's cool. See, when I dated the wrong way and I would go too fast, my hormones would take over. I would be like, oh, I love this guy. I could totally marry him. But no, that was my hormones saying that, yeah, I really like him. But there's this one guy that was a total not match at all. I think we would have just killed each other, but I couldn't see it because I was physically involved. And so if we wait until we're married, then let me tell you what happens there. Okay. So I started using the dating superpower being celibate later. I was no Virgin Mary, okay? But when I started to use this dating superpower, I was able to go on dates with guys, and within 1 and 2 dates, I was like, really cute, but not for me. Really hot, but not for me. I just would know, or they would know that about me. They'd be like, oh, this doesn't work out. And so guess what? When you want to break up, it's easy. You could just say, sorry, there's no second date, third date, whatever. You could just move on. But if you're like entangled physically, it's hard to do that. It really is. It's hard to just be able to say goodbye. And it's wasting our time. So once I decided, okay, I was going to start dating celibately, I was in a small group of women at my church, and we all happened to be single. And then one day, the small group leader, Aaron, started talking about celibate dating. I'm like, what's that? Like, no one had ever talked to me about that. No one had ever taught me that. I did not grow up in the church, even though my parents were Christians, but we didn't go to church, And when I said, okay, I've tried everything else. I'm going to try it because I am sick of being brokenhearted. And when I met Dave, we went on a date, and we went on several dates, and I was afraid to tell him because I was like, I really like this guy, and I don't want to now scare him away because, I am going to be waiting till I'm married. And it was New Year's Eve, and he asked me out to go to his friend's house for a New Year's Eve party, but we were welcome to stay. We were invited to stay in the guest room because it's New Year's Eve. There's going to be the drunk drivers on the street and everything like that, and you want to stay till the ball drops. And I was like, okay. So that night I had to tell him, I was like, I'm waiting until I'm married. And he goes, there's this long silence, and he goes, oh, thank God. He's like, I actually am relieved. He's like, because in today's culture, I feel like as a guy, I you know I had to go fast or whatever. And he's like, and I actually really just want to get to know a girl. And he kind of grew up with Catholic guilt, and he just wanted to, like, you know take things slowly. But as a guy, he felt the pressure. And so I was like, oh, thank God. Now, guess what? As a result, we got to know each other. We started doing these dating books where you ask each other these questions. And so you're really getting to know each other. And if there were any red flags, you could get out and say, sorry, not the one. But when you are really getting to know each other because you're talking and you're communicating on such a deeper level, that is the greatest level of intimacy that you could ever experience. And so within 6 months, okay, within 2 months, he put a ring on it. 4 months later, we were married. So, what do they say? If the milk is free, why pay for the cow? But Dave likes to say, don't buy the cow based on the size of her udder. That's what he said. He said, you need to find out if the cow is healthy on the inside because that determines if the milk is going to be sweet or sour. You don't want to spend an entire lifetime drinking sour milk, do you? In the words of Dave LeCue. So I hope that dating superpower helps you, okay, in finding the right mate. Now, I also want to talk to those of you that are in a relationship. There is something called the Love and Respect Cycle. And it's a great book called Love and Respect by Dr. Egerich. This book completely transformed our marriage because once we learned about love and respect, it's the love that she needs and the respect that he most desires. And what it means is when a woman feels loved, she naturally wants to be respectful. And when a man feels respected, he naturally wants to give love. And a woman's needs is love, and a man's needs is respect. Am I right? This book is amazing. Now, here's on the opposite. He said there's a crazy cycle that could develop if one of you stops doing your part. So if I start being disrespectful, Dave naturally says something unloving, and then I naturally want to be disrespectful again, and then he naturally wants to be unloving, and then the crazy cycle starts, and then you start growing apart or having frustrations with each other. But guess what? All it takes is just one person, one of us to be the bigger person to say, okay, I'm going to stop the crazy cycle. I'm going to bite my tongue. I am going to hold back every thought and I am going to be respectful. Ladies, we are going to be respectful. And as a result, your man is going to want to be more loving towards you. And if he's not, guess what? He's not the right one. And guess what, gentlemen? If you're doing all you can in the loving and being loving, and she continues to be disrespectful, she might not be the right one. Now, if you're married, you got to stay together. Okay, that's a different conversation for another time. However, get marriage counseling, work it out, learn how to just constantly do your part of the cycle. You want to be on the positive cycle, the love respect cycle. You want to be in the crazy cycle. So the more you can do your part helps you stay in the positive love and respect cycle. I hope today has helped you. And I want to tell you that next week is going to be the last session. And so next week, we are going to be talking about your superhero squad. That's the power of your associations and what the power of your associations can do on your life. We'll also be talking about your dreams, how to identify your goals, how to identify a deeper meaning to your goal instead of just having a goal that's out there, but really to feel purpose-driven every single day and how to do that next week. We're also going to end next week's session by helping you identify your unique superpower because we were all born with a unique superpower that God gave us to be able to go out into the world and make it a better place and make a positive impact. So that's going to be session number 4 and our final session next Sunday at the same time and place. I just put the link into the chat where you can get the book, Real World Superpowers, at lizleq.now.site. And there you can also go and get the replay of today's session along with the previous sessions. And it'll also have next week's session recorded on there too. God bless you guys. I so appreciate you coming. Let's empower the next generation with the tools to succeed. Tell them to come next week. We're going to continue to speaking life into them. And I hope today was valuable for you. God bless you. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, Liz.
Awesome. Thank you.